Thank you for coming through.
Have a good one.
Lord have mercy. All right, moving on with the program. Marjorie Taylor Greene is that girl at the bar last call. Well, like I said, she'll be around for quite a while because the folks on the right really like her. She'll be around for a while. Open the mouth too much, and Donald doesn't want to hear the truth from his past. I don't quite get the explanation behind that. This election month, and Marjorie Taylor Greene, like Rudolph Giuliani, should be in the closet. Where Rudolph Giuliani right now, unless something happens, is a failure, and Marjorie Taylor Greene is still a political success. I mean, by all measurements, Marjorie Taylor Greene is a political success. She's almost guaranteed to get reelected, and as I said, the right likes her. So her constituents seem happy. Now, I saw folks in the comments pushing back saying, well, she's not well respected. Hey, as long as they keep voting you in, she's appearing on most right wing networks. They're allowing her to speak, giving her a platform. Her tweets and social media posts get a lot of attention. What more does a politician want? That's as good as respect in my book. Looking in the comments, they have a tendency to put Donald Trump into the past shit he's spoken. I think they have a tendency to do that to a lot of folks, though. Liz is on the team. She's Barack's eighth cousin. What the hell? You're eighth cousin? Do people even measure it at that level? Eighth? Texas. Eighth cousin. Wow. Good afternoon, Texas. Welcome to Hey, what's up? So, what do you think of Marjorie Taylor Greene with all of this liberal hurricane stuff? Is that possible in your opinion?
That they made the hurricane stronger?
That they interfere with the hurricanes in any way, fashion, or form, or that they tried to use them as a weapon against Republicans?
Let me tell you something. If that's the case, both sides are going to do that then, right? I see her as she's talking to her base. She knows, that we've got to say something to make them mad, and mad with us and not mad against us, because a lot of those Republicans down there voted against more FEMA funding, and that's of course what the current administration is blaming them for, right? Saying, hey, it would be there if you didn't get voted down,
right?
But
that's poor.
It would be there if we didn't misuse it for sanctuary cities,
right? But in my opinion, that's also some poor messaging from the Democrat Party, that they have so many folks now believing that the only reason that they can't help them out is because the money went to Democrats. The fact is, like you're pointing out, the Republican Congress are the ones not long ago that shot down an increase of FEMA funding. And even a lot of Democrats don't know that because the Democratic messaging is so poor. Whereas the actual lies, things that are not true coming from the right about this, is actually gaining steam, and the truth is not being spoken much.
Well, but both sides are throwing out lies, though. So, the waters are so muddied. And then you do it to a group of people who have just watched, their livelihoods wash away. Are they going to take time to fully listen?
Give me some examples in regards to the hurricanes themselves. Give me some examples of Democrats lying.
Well, I mean, Harris just did it with DeSantis, Oh, he's ignoring my calls. And then Biden had to come out and say, yeah, talk to him. I don't know what the miscommunication was. She straight up said a lie to try to appeal to those voters down there that isn't typically her base, to say, hey, look, if it's bad, it's on him, because I've been trying to help you, right?
Didn't he admit? Because first he said he didn't know she was trying to contact him, but then he came out and said he didn't want to talk to her. Didn't he admit he didn't want to talk to her?
No, he didn't say that. He said, I've been talking to the president. I had no reason to talk to her. A vice president has nothing to do with this. So that's another part where she's fabricating something, right, by saying, blowing something out of proportion, by saying, hey, he's not cooperating with me. Well, no, you're the VP. You're the vice presidential candidate. He doesn't need to cooperate with you. He doesn't need to cooperate with Trump. He needs to cooperate with Biden and make sure that everything is in place so that people are safe, people have the resources they need, and that's all that matters. But so both sides are guilty of this, right? I mean, that's the hole in Marjorie Taylor Greene's argument. You could say that Republicans seeded the storm just as much as Democrats. So to piss them off and make sure they go to the polls and vote, you know? I mean, to me, it's not far-fetched that the technology isn't there. We have recorded hit weather for over 500 years. For over 100 years, we've been seeding storms. So we know the concepts. It's how big can we get it? I mean, what was it, like in the 90s, that reporter showed that big storm creator in Mississippi? I think it was in Mississippi or Georgia or something. And then they followed it and it rained in another state. So, I mean, if we can do that, it's not too far-fetched, right? I mean, we know we've been cloud seeding. Like
okay, now let's go. Now, as far as I'm concerned, I don't know if I totally believe it. This is the sheer size of a hurricane, but let's say what you're saying is true. Shouldn't she have to provide evidence?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay.
You can't just come out and make a claim like that, and because what is that gonna? That's gonna make me think you're just saying stuff to talk to your base,
right?
To anger them, play off their emotions, and get them to vote.
But even if what you're saying is true, and I tend to disagree with, but let's say what you're saying is true. She's basically saying that the Democrats not only were able to create a hurricane, but they can then steer it, because she's saying that they did it
to steer it.
Yeah.
You don't have to steer it at all. I mean, look, it's odd. I think the basis for this claim comes that, and I've heard you ask everybody on here, been on since you jumped in, and no one talks about this. The storm traveled west to east.
Right.
Now, that has happened with hurricanes, but so few that it allows this opening to say, hey, is this man-made? Is it orchestrated? Right? Because it's not uncommon for storms to build that way, but do they build to hurricane levels?
Yeah, but if you have an abnormal...
It hasn't happened in 20 years.
Yeah, but if you have an abnormal occurrence, like for instance, I remember when I was a young man back in the early 90s, there was an actual earthquake where Missouri, Illinois, and Kentucky meet. Now, you rarely ever hear of hurricanes in Paducah or Carbondale, Illinois, Paducah, Kentucky. But I actually was in one. And this is something that has not happened since. I don't remember hearing anybody suggest that the liberals or the Republicans caused the earthquake because it's something that doesn't normally happen. I get your point that you don't normally have them start in the Gulf and go eastbound, but why the hell would that lead you to suggest that a politician created it?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Without facts, right? It's her just talking to her base and trying to play off their emotions. I mean, I'm not saying that it doesn't happen, that these hurricanes can't form west to east. I said that it does, and it has. It's just so rare that now it's opened this door for another person to politicize a storm, right? Because honest to God, let's just take it in the context of what it is and say, okay, she's right. We're all in trouble with that then, right? Because not one side is going to make a storm to hurt people. It's just not going to happen. Both sides.
Well, I would say this: if we could use storm, if we could actually make storms, it would have been used in war already. I mean, the first time America uses a storm is not going to be on other Americans. I mean, this would be great to use on, some of our enemies overseas. They wouldn't use it on Americans for the first time. That's insane.
Yeah, exactly. So, no, to answer your question, look, she's playing to her base. She is, playing that role to gain support from her already supporters and divide even more.
Is that the type of base she has that would be willing to believe that you could create a hurricane and somewhat steer it? I mean, is her base? I mean, we're talking about educational level. Is her base? Is there education around that grade where you could convince them of something like this?
I don't know if it's really a lack of education, right? I think if you put into the mix everything that's happened, let's just say from 2020 and how crazy stuff has happened, you're more likely to say, there might be a point to it,
What has happened from 2020? What has happened from 2020 that's so crazy? Now, we're talking about Republicans. So what has the Republicans seen that's so crazy that they would buy this?
Well, I'm just saying, since the pandemic, that put a lot of people into mental health spots and coping lacking the coping skills to get themselves out of it, to where it's flamed a lot of mistrust, a lot of trust issues with people. And so they are more skeptical of things that they normally would be. right? So it's easy to manipulate them off their emotions and say, hey, look, the Democrats made this storm to flood y'all out. Oh my God, you know what? You could be right, because I didn't think that the economy would shut down because of the flu, right? I mean, it's because it's been one thing after another with people. And it's not just the education level, it's the income level, where all they've been headed. There's a lot to play in with this.
I don't care how low my income gets. I'm not going to believe the Republicans created a hurricane. Income level, I don't know. I think it's education, in my opinion. I mean, income, no matter how poor I get, I could be homeless and I wouldn't believe that.
But my education lets me know that we can create storms. Yours does not. You don't believe in that. And I took weather and climate in college and learned that we could create storms. They didn't teach us that they could make hurricanes. Now, if that's the case, that's why I say we're in a world of shit.
Yeah.
Especially if they're going to be used politically.
Yeah, I would say because what they call it, cloud sort, whatever they call it. You can you can create weather systems on a small level, but a big ass hurricane.
You can do it on a large level as far as the storm goes. Now, no, not a hurricane. You are right there. Yeah. We've never seen ourselves do that. But those storms are still very large. That's what helped us from the Dust Bowl, Tim. And it all started because they were throwing dynamite up in the sky.
What would throwing dynamite in the sky do to the weather?
Oh, it'd make it rain. When there's always loud.
How does throwing dynamite in the sky convert to rain?
It's like the nitrate, all the elements that it needs to. I don't remember the whole.
I ain't never heard this.
Oh yeah, you can Google it and see. That's the concepts of cloud seeding started then. That's one of the things that helped them, fight against the Dust Bowl. We were going to be screwed in the Dust Bowl because we had killed so many buffalo that they, the winds were just. The ground wasn't getting stomped in by the buffalo, so the winds were kicking up more dirt, killing more crops. Huge ecological impact from that. But it's just history. It's just knowing that. Yeah, I mean, and like I said, so we can sit here and we can laugh at someone and say they're uneducated if they don't believe, or if they believe that the government used a storm against us. But at the same time, if you don't know that we can manipulate weather, you look just as silly to me.
In this case, I'll plead ignorance because I ain't never heard of that, but I see an article here by the Smithsonian that says when the U.S. government tried to make it rain by exploding dynamite in the sky. Inspired by weather patterns during the Civil War, the rainmakers of 1890 headed to West Texas to test their theory. I don't see where they suggested it was a success, though. That's where the difference is.
But there used to be, you can read history about, there would be these snake oil salesmen coming from town to town across the Midwest, selling all kinds of things. And they would say, oh, I can get it to rain, and they started shooting, stuff into the sky, looking like fireworks, kind of things like that. I don't remember the full history of it. Read it years and years ago in college, but that's where it all started. It's not that it was necessarily successful, but it's where the concept began, right? And so we've been manipulating weather on some scale for over 100 years.
I don't see, but the point I'm making is I see where they tried. I don't see where it was accurate. And it looks like, according to a quote here, if lightning and thunder and rain have been brought on by the agency of man when bloodshed and slaughter were only intended, this surely can be done without the latter concomitants, he wrote, urging the U.S. Congress to fund research on this topic. Now, he believed that if lightning and thunder because that is what often precedes rain. So this person, I'm trying to see who this is. This is a Civil War general that did this, but the belief was if you could have noise in the sky, imitating thunder, it would lead to rain. This person believed that it was the noise that led to rain. He says, but he was not the first to postulate this theory of conclusion or the idea that loud sounds could disrupt the climate's equilibrium and force rain to fall. Now it says in the second century Greek essayist Plutarch, somebody else tried to do the same thing. I don't see where it actually has worked though. That's what they believed.
Right, because Right, because you're reading about his failed concept that it was the sound. You need to look up how we overcame the Dust Bowl, right? And the cloud seeding that we did to help increase the number of storms so we could rain and the grounds wouldn't be so dry and arid and blow dust everywhere. It was successful. He was wrong that it's not some loud clapping or flashing up there, but it was actually seeding the atmosphere, creating moisture by expanding particles. I don't know the whole science. You know how long ago I took weather and climate? Okay, but I learned it on a university campus. Sam Houston State, I saw someone say YouTube University. No, actually, that's something in my life. I'm a Bearcat from Sam Houston State University, proud. So, it's not some crazy thing. You wake up. What's crazy is to think our government is doing against us. What's even crazier is someone working for our government made the claim. So, yeah, we should be demanding her to produce some evidence. Otherwise, sit down and shut up, right? Or we need to have a bigger discussion if she has evidence. That would be terrifying.
Yeah. If she had evidence, we might be onto something. That's where the problem is. I got to move it on, Texas, but that's the problem is, particularly from Trump and even, huh?
I said I'll only get the one question.
Yeah, with them at the short and life, I got some things going on. But I will say this, that is one of the issues is that on the right, certainly with Trump, and now we got Marjorie Taylor Greene, a lot of things are said. And when it comes to evidence, they're short on it, such as Haitian migrants eating cats and dogs and things like that. And even some of the election claims is that they make these statements, but then when you ask for evidence, you're kind of wrong or you're a rhino for asking for evidence. You should just take it at face value. And that's where I think the problem arises.
With people on the far right, yes, for sure. But you have your problems with people on the far left.
Is Trump far right?
Is Trump far right?
Yeah.
With some of the things he says, yeah.
Okay. Because he by far is the one that's making a lot of those claims, such as cats and dogs and all.
That's what's irritating about him, right? He'll say things where you're just like, what the hell? Why are you fanning the flames for these people over here? Like, we need to tone them down a little bit, just like people on the far left. Wherever there's an action, there's an opposite and equal reaction, right? So as far right or the crazies are over there, it's the same on the left, right? I mean, that's why if you talk...
Yeah, but let me just interrupt you by saying this. I agree there's wild claims on the far left, but it doesn't come from Kamala or Biden. You don't hear Biden up there echoing things that the far left is saying. That's where the difference is.
Yes, it does, definitely.
Give me an example.
They were the first ones to get up and say, if Trump wins, democracy ends. That is extreme. No one running for president should want to end the democracy of the country they're running for. So it is a wild, baseless claim to say he wants to end democracy, and it's dangerous. So
you do realize Trump is quoted as saying to suspend the Constitution. Should he not be held accountable for saying that?
That's not. Look, I'm not going to defend what Trump said. Just like you won't defend the facts that Kamala was putting minority parents in jail in California for truancy issues. I'm not going to defend the stupid, outlandish things that Trump has said.
No. I'm not asking you to defend them. I'm simply saying when you say that the claims about democracy are ridiculous, I'm telling you there's a reason why people are saying that. I mean, he talked about suspending the Constitution.
Yeah, well, maybe we do need to suspend it at a state level. We need to call that and get our federal government in line as far as their spending is, because it's ridiculous how much spending we're having. And the acceptance that someone can have that, it's what we need to do. We're spending $5 trillion a year, only getting $4 trillion from our tax dollars.
So you're saying we should suspend the Constitution at the state level, and you come up with these reasons for why. Are you going to be okay when a liberal comes up with a reason why they should suspend the Constitution at the state level?
Oh, hell yeah. I mean, if it's going to benefit the American people, because right now nothing is benefiting us.
So if a liberal stated, we're going to suspend the Constitution at the state level that allows folks to purchase, 50-round drums or long rifles, because the benefit would be nobody gets killed with this weapon, you're not going to agree with that, are you?
Yeah, they've done it before, and they'll see, like before when they put weapons bans on, how it didn't work, how it was really...
Why would anybody be okay with suspending the Constitution?
Because it's actually showing, Tim, that our leaders are taking an internal look into things and actually seeing, is this working or is it broken? A lot of people on the far left want to say our country isn't working, it's broken, we need to replace everything. But you must not be able to grasp the concept of what that would actually take, what that would actually entail. You would actually have to flip everything around on itself to actually see where these problems lie, to get an accurate presentation and be able to fix it.
I think if you start giving politicians to unilaterally come up with a reason why they believe you should suspend the Constitution, you might as well just get rid of it. Because everybody gonna come up with a reason why they think it's beneficial to suspend the Constitution.
The problem here is I have defended it. You have yet to still answer why it's okay that Kamala Harris, and you support her, putting minority family, parents in jail for their students in truancy issues.
When did this happen? You want me to defend something she did 40 years ago?
Well, I mean, you made me defend the other day about Trump in 2016 saying Obama tapped his phones. I mean,
you're talking about something. Okay,
I'm talking about how she actually implemented policy to put minorities in prison. Actual policy she did. Instead of saying, hey, we're losing $1.2 billion of state funding because of truancy issues, how can we help these parents? No, instead she said, we're putting them in jail.
So now you do.
Hold on. When a lot of these minority parents were having to work 2-3 jobs and didn't have the time to put in to make sure their kids were going to school every day, instead of helping them, she imprisoned them. And you don't want to defend that?
What attorney general goes against the law of their state and does what they want? She's not the governor. Her job as attorney general is to prosecute and enforce the law. If that is the law, your problem is with the governor at that time, not the attorney general or some district attorney. That's all she was an attorney.
She said, I'm getting this money. She didn't have to take them to court, Tim. But go ahead, keep defending them. You look really good. Keep defending them.
Thank you. Appreciate that. That doesn't make any sense. I mean, you know how many if what you're saying is the case, I think you could probably have a good case against every district attorney and attorney general in American history. They have all prosecuted bad laws or things against people that we probably disagree with. I think all of them have done that.
That's why I would not vote for a prosecutor for president.
All right. Okay, all right. I can't argue with that.
Hey, end of the day, you're sitting here defending a woman for putting minority parents in prison because their kids are missing too much school when they're struggling just to put food on the table for them. That's what you're standing for, Ted.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with what you're saying. What I'm simply saying is if you become an attorney general or if you become a district attorney, you don't get to pick and choose which laws you get to enforce. I mean, just like some of these states, hang on. Just like right now, there are some Republican states. Hang on. Right now, okay. Then you can look. We can have a conversation. If I'm lying, you can correct me. But talking over me, we're not getting anywhere. What I'm saying is this: right now, there are some Republican states that are talking about putting women in jail and executing them for having an abortion. You telling me the attorney generals are going to fight against that?
Here we pivot. Stop. You said she does not have the power. Yes, she made the choice to go after these families as attorney general. Defend it.
What's your point? I don't see. I'm clueless.
Yeah, I know. It's clear. You're voting for this woman who has a track record of finding ways to imprison minorities. Why?
So you're telling me people went to prison because their kid didn't go to school?
Yes.
I don't believe that.
One woman went to prison, and I sent you the clip, Tim. I sent you the video, but you started ignoring me because I was putting truth in your face.
You know how many people, Texas, if I was ignoring you, I wouldn't talk to you this long. I wouldn't take you. I don't ignore it. You realize how many hundreds of people send me shit? I have responded to some of your clips, man. You realize people are sending me shit all day and I have a day job. I don't ignore you. It's just I got a lot going on.
I'm saying, you responded, and then the next thing I did was send it to you, and you looked at it and you never said nothing. She sent this mother to prison. Her daughter had sickle cell, was out for 60 days.
Prison?
Huh?
Prison?
Well, I mean, she got arrested for it, yeah. Yeah, to
Getting
get that money.
you
That's what she
said,
did. So,
wait.
so let me hear you actually defend that and not pivot.
I
and
don't
say,
believe
Trump
it.
did this or Trump did that, because that's the only defense you have in a debate, and that's where the left is losing people. You want to say, well, what about Trump? Look at Trump. Trump did this. No, I'm talking to you about her and how she put minority families in prison. So tell me.
Let me see if I can Google and see what you're saying. I don't favor her doing that. I just don't believe what you're saying is true. And I didn't ignore your messaging.
You have an inept ability to accept truth because of your Trump derangement syndrome.
Describe that. What is Trump derangement? So give me your definition of that.
You are willing to put anything and everything off of the current administration, just like what were we talking about before? You didn't want to sit there and talk about. You said, well, in our DMs, and I'll share screenshots for everybody. You said, well, you don't like immigration anyways, so what does it matter where they put the money for the immigrants at, or something like that?
What? Yeah, you're attributing things to me that maybe I was dementia or something. I don't know what the stuff you're saying. I don't recognize it.
We originally were talking about how I showed you Greene Jean-Pierre saying back in 22 how they were using emergency funds from FEMA to help immigration. And you said, well, all you Republicans are against immigration anyway, so what does it matter where the money was spent? See, instead of holding accountable the current administration, you're okay with just dumping it on Republicans and Trump. That's Trump derangement syndrome. Instead of saying, yeah, that's fucked up, they shouldn't have done that, you say, oh, well, y'all don't like immigrants anyways, when my brother is an immigrant. So okay. I really didn't appreciate that.
Okay, well, you and I disagree, and that's fine. I want to play a quick clip and see what...
You don't disagree, you just don't care.
In the de facto.
Okay, well, you're entitled to your opinion. That's why we have a free speech program. I disagree with you, but you're entitled to your opinion. Let me play this clip, and we'll talk about it briefly. This is in regards to Kamala Harris putting people in jail for truancy.
Ever since Kamala Harris became the de facto Democratic presidential nominee, Republicans are talking an awful lot about her time as a California prosecutor, particularly the accusation that she jailed parents whose kids were chronically absent from school, otherwise known as truancy. Whitley Yates, the director of diversity for Indiana's Republican Party, even highlighted that claim right here on last week's The Sunday Show.
I'm talking about, like she stated, when she was a prosecutor and the way in which she prosecuted parents for the truancy. I'm talking about when
not a single parent went to jail for that, by the way.
And did, and she, so that's incorrect.
When she was,
let me pick up on Amisha Cross's not a single parent rebuttal and set the record straight on this. It's true. Kamala Harris never sent...
I'm going to give you plenty of time to correct it, but talking over it, we're not going to get in. Let the clip play, and I'll give you the floor. I'll give you a solid 60 seconds, but let me hear the clip.
About when
not a single parent went to jail for that, by the way.
And did, and she,
so that's incorrect.
Let me pick up on Amisha Cross's not a single parent rebuttal and set the record straight on this. It's true. Kamala Harris never sent parents to jail for their kids' truancy. As San Francisco DA, Harris was heavily invested in ending truancy. She explained in a 2009 op-ed, quote, I see what happens on the back end of school failures. Young lives are being lost to street violence or prison time at an appalling rate. We must also take seriously the task of keeping our kids in school. 3 data points drove her to act. 44% of truant students were in elementary school. 94% of all homicide victims in San Francisco under the age of 25 were high school dropouts. And 2/3 of California prison inmates were high school dropouts. So Harris launched a program aimed at kids missing a lot of school, 60 to 80 days out of a 180-day school year. Struggling families were linked to resources they needed to help keep their kids in schools. Those who ignored warnings were brought before a special truancy court where they faced misdemeanor charges. Not one person went to jail, not one. And according to the San Francisco Unified School District, Harris's initiative helped reduce truancy among elementary school kids by 23% over a 2-year period.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, in MSNBC, right? Great, credible source.
I'm-
They've been shown to alter photos of rallies, AI. I mean, I'm not even going to really comment too much on that source you just cited.
Okay.
It's liberal, far left liberal propaganda. That's like me using Fox. I'm not using Fox. You can actually do some research. Google is a far better tool than going to CNN.
I went to Google and they gave me this article. That's how I got it. I went to Google.
I mean, because you probably watch a lot of MSNBC. I mean, I get it. It's going to be at the top of the list. It's an easy click. But there's no depth to it. It's baseless. And they're out there, campaigning for Kamala Harris. So, of course, it's going to be, oh, no, she didn't do it. When I've sent you a clip, you can go to our DM box.
What is your source? What is the source of your clip?
That's cited in there. I don't remember. I mean, I don't think
I'll specifically go and look for it. Like I said, I don't ignore your clips. I get a lot of material sent to me. Listen, I make it clear you can come on the program any damn time. You can criticize the hell out of me. I believe in free speech.
Well, and I am, Tim.
Okay.
Because
But you stated I was trying to ignore you, which is humorous.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you are. I mean, you do a lot. Listen, look at you just did it right there.
You're on here for like 3-4 minutes. I'm addressing everything you're saying, and you're somehow fighting me ignoring you.
No. Well, you're not though. You're just spinning around it. You're just saying, well, and then when I talk about her track record as what she was as a prosecutor, you just want to brush it off. Your talking point was bringing up something about Trump. And that's not being genuine. That's being disingenuous.
Okay.
That's being just, oh, well, I'll put up with it because it's better than Trump. Look, man, they're all liars. They're all crooks. That's what every politician is here to do.
All right.
That's why I said if the liberals are using a storm to fuck with Republicans.
With the voter ID thing. So you're telling me I don't criticize the Democrats. That's the whole purpose of the show.
Yeah, but you didn't ask me that. We're not on that topic, Tim.
Oh.
Yeah, but you didn't ask me that. We're not on that topic, Tim. So don't throw that. That's a pivot. See? Well, the whole show are the Democrats cheating, but you haven't said that. And with me, Tim, and I appreciate you letting me up here and giving me all this time, you don't ever look at that. You want to spin these facts, and then I'll see you with other people, and you'll be like, well, Trump, he did have some good policies, and it wasn't bad. And you play devil's advocate, but you play it a lot better when you're actually supporting Trump. Because when you're doing your liberal stuff, all your talking points are just trying to make people defend Trump for the things he said or the things he's done. But you do not defend Biden or Harris administration misusing FEMA funds. You don't even defend them.
How does the Democrats misuse FEMA funds? Isn't that controlled by Congress?
Oh my God, Tim! I know you watch MSNBC, obviously, but Greene Jean-Pierre, she is the White House.
Yeah, I saw that. I actually I reposted that.
So
I saw what you sent me.
Come out of her mouth, right? And she said it. So I don't know.
Wait a minute. But yes, you are right. You sent me that, and I even reposted it. But what happened with those funds cannot be done without the authorization of Congress, which is the Republican Party. They didn't do it on their own. That's what I'm telling you.
But they were the ones saying how much we need. And obviously, in the last 2 years, they've spent so much money, right, that we don't have enough to actually fund people through hurricanes. And instead of saying, yeah, they fucked up, I'm mad at them about that, you continue to say, well, Republicans. And again,
you're doing exactly the opposite. Mike Johnson. Okay.
I will sit here and tell you where I was the first one that said Republicans didn't vote for more FEMA funding. So that's why Marjorie Taylor Greene is coming out saying the Democrats made the storm. So no, don't sit here and tell me I do the same thing. I do not. I will actually say
I didn't hear any of that.
Trump's a fucking idiot. Marjorie Taylor Greene is delusional. But you, Tim, will not say anything against the Liberal Party. And that's why someone in here earlier was saying you're paid by the DNC. You didn't get that reference, but that's actually what they were
saying. Let me see some damn galaxies on the program. You ain't seen one hat and mustache or a damn thing where I've been talking. Ain't nobody paying me shit. Texas, I gotta move on. I gotta move on.
I was gonna say, that's why I send them to you, but I haven't been because you've been ugly towards me, Tim.
Oh, come on. I gave you more time than any other guest today. I gotta go. Texas, you're always welcome back. Good talk. All right, moving on with the program. Folks, when I say free speech, damn it, we mean it. You can clearly see that's a perfect example. I got the shit criticized out of me. Now, me and my last caller don't agree on any damn thing, but he's always welcome back. Your guests are shit today, and that's why, says Ron K. Your guests are shit today. Wow. All right, let me continue on. Yeah, but stand up for yourself. These guys talk to you any kind of way, says S&D Mobile. No, I push back. Look, at the end of the day, I'm not a fan of talking down to my guests. Some folks are going to do that in some way, fashion, or form. And my last guest, I got derangement syndrome and said a host of things about me. All right. Fair enough. I got thick skin. I can take it. Looking in the comments real quick, he was lying, says Miss Sooner. And Eric says, stop being so nice. Look, at the end of the day, we try to run a program. People are passionate about their politics. That's what happens. So it is what it is. Real quick in the comments, Lorraine Cuevas was sentenced to 180 days for her children's truancy. Whoa, alter ego. All right, that'll liven it up a bit. Thank you, alter ego. I do appreciate that support. Ignore him, says Stephen White. Vote Democratic if you're DETA. Timothy, I don't quite get what you're saying there, but yeah, real quick. Listen, at the end of the day, I have not heard of all of these folks going to prison for child truancy. But one of the things I do want to point out, let's say that did happen, as my caller states. Let's say Kamala Harris was putting people in prison for child truancy, just like folks would suggest that Biden during the 94 crime bill was putting a lot of black men in jail. I'm going to ask the same question I often ask. Where are all the Republicans that were bitching and complaining about it during that time? Because we're trying to get rid of Kamala Harris, or we're trying to get rid of Biden because they were wrongfully locking up black people and vote the Republicans in. Was there a hell of a lot of, because there are plenty of Republicans in California. There were probably even more back, when was Reagan the governor of California? Because Kamala Harris was doing this in the 80s, which means she was doing it during the Reagan administration. And we know Reagan won like 49 states in this country, California being one of them. So where are all the Republicans that were saying what she was doing was wrong? DJ Julio, appreciate the pumpkin head. So that's what I'm asking. Where are all, if what these folks are doing, particularly to African Americans, was so wrong, where are all of the Republicans that are coming out of the woodwork saying, I told her when she was doing that, it was wrong? Here's a picture of me surrounded by a bunch of black mothers protesting against it. Same thing with the Biden administration, with him, the whole crime bill, the 94 crime bill. Where are all the Republicans that were standing up for this? If it was so bad that they're bringing it up now 30, 40 years later, where were they when it was actually happening? I would submit to you this, even if what my guest was saying is true, that Kamala Harris was doing all that to African Americans, or that folks are saying that what Biden was doing, even if all that is true, I don't see where African Americans would be better voting for the other side if they didn't do anything to defend them. Show me who was against it at the time. That's what I would ask. Show me who stood up during that time and was against it. I don't know when, here's my deflection, I don't know when former President Trump took out the New York Times article against the Central Park Five, suggesting that they be hung, but I would assume it's got to be somewhere in that era too. Show me one of these candidates that would have been the right one to pick to prevent that stuff. They both sound like they would have been okay with it. Looking in the comments, she supported the law, didn't make the law. That is true. That is what I was telling my last guest, but he wasn't buying it. All right, going back to the box. I live in California. I know liberal policy failures, says Crystal Lopez. Liberals get a lot of punishment for California, but I don't know. Was Arnold Schwarzenegger a really good governor out there? Was he known to be great? Because he wasn't a liberal. Whenever somebody mentions Marjorie Taylor Greene, I'm so sorry. Let me go back to the box. Continuing on with the program. We'll continue on with Jeremy. Good afternoon. Welcome to the program, Jeremy. Jeremy, you should be able to. I'm going to assume, Jeremy, you tend to think my last guest was hitting home runs. What say you, Jeremy?
Can you repeat the question?
I said, I'm going to assume you thought my last guest was kind of hitting home runs.
He was hitting. I think he was hitting some fouls, but mostly home runs.
Okay. So So you do believe Kamala Harris was throwing people in prison for truancy?
Yeah, well, I do know she was saying that she was smoking weed around the same time that she was putting black men in prison for the same exact kind of crime. Like, if you look at the times that she says that she was listening to Tupac and smoking weed, it lines up exactly when she was prosecuting people.
So she was getting high and locking up black men.
Yep, for the exact same crime.
Why isn't she known by Californians? If she was doing this, because even when she became VP or back when she was claiming that Biden was a racist, why weren't Californians back then saying any of this? Why are the overwhelming majority of the people saying that she was locking up black people, not black themselves?
Why were they just ignoring it? Well, it's because it's because of the fact that they were brand loyal. That's what it is. It's brand loyalty. They didn't want to admit that somebody who happens to be on the right side of politics, or in this case the left side, it was someone who would be doing something like that. It's a little bit of cognitive dissonance.
So you're saying if a liberal wrongfully locks up black people won't say anything about it?
Well, maybe one or two, but most of them won't.
Really?
I'm sorry to say it, but we see the black vote is actually a pretty homogenous vote. For the most part, in the United States, it does happen like that, where if somebody says that they represent X, Y, and Z, and they happen to have the right politics beneath them, black people tend to actually vote kind of in a homogenous way.
Well, you do realize history plays a part in that. I mean, black people used to always vote Republican because they freed the slaves, but after the party switch, they tend to vote Democrat. I mean, you have to look at the goings on of the Republican Party. I mean, I've been to Trump rallies. You look at the mindset or some of the policies of the right, and you don't see where it might make sense that a lot of folks that are among the black community may have, an adverse opinion of that. Like, for instance, Trump is talking about right now bringing back stop and frisk and giving police immunity from prosecution in liberal cities. Do you think that favors black people?
Well, I don't necessarily know. I think that, if we look at the numbers, as black people on average do commit more crime more often than other races, even per capita. So I would say that it just is kind of necessary. Although the immunity part, I'm not so.
That's what we're talking about. Do you believe it favors anyone, black, white, Hispanic, or anyone, to be dealing with cops that have immunity from prosecution? Do you think anybody is benefiting from that?
The immunity from prosecution, no, I don't like that. That's something I've always disagreed with Trump on. But, nobody really votes for a candidate that they agree 100% on, because you never really get that. You usually get 75%. I like 75% of what this guy says. I like 15% of what that person says. I'm going with the 75.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. You're not going to get a perfect candidate, but there are some talking points, some policies that might be a deal breaker, such as I could give you a great economy, but if I'm talking about limiting your Second Amendment rights, you don't need to hear the other 75%. That one promise is enough. Like when Beto O'Rourke said, "You're damn right, I'm going to take away your guns." Talking about giving police immunity from prosecution, I'm not really concerned with what you're going to do to the economy after that. Once you're telling me that in my neighborhood, I might get pulled over by a cop that has no accountability for what he does, does $2 gas remain relevant at that point?
I think people do care so much more about the economy, because I think first off, I don't think Trump's going to successfully get the immunity thing through. I think he kind of knows that. I think he just wants to be seen as a tough on crime kind of president. And realistically, I think people do care a lot more about the economy, because I think that's kind of affecting people in their daily lives. I mean, especially in the black community, where there is a higher level of poverty. I shouldn't have to go to the store and be afraid, how much are eggs going to cost? As somebody who's trying to lose weight and gain muscle, eggs are the go-to protein of eggs and chicken are supposed to be the thing you go to when you can't afford, a steak and whey protein. And it's gone up. It's gone up by quite significantly. So I think people will kind of look to the.
Yeah, but what good if a cop is beating my ass or wrongfully taking me to jail? and somebody tell me while I'm in a police car, eggs are down to 79 cents a dozen. Is that relevant at that? I mean, you're talking about literally giving the police free reign in areas where black people are mostly at. I mean, yeah, but eggs are cheap while it's happening. That's like literally looking at George Floyd while he's on the ground and telling him, gas is $1 a gallon right now. Okay, you put your knee back on his neck, but hold on a second. Let me let him know gas was $1 a gallon. Is that relevant?
Well, I don't think it will actually. I don't think that'll actually get passed, though. I think most people don't think that that's something that Trump can actually deliver on. It seems more like Trump. If it wasn't for the Trump being who he is and he using a lot of hyperbole and exaggerating a lot of things, I don't think that he would be able to get away with saying something like that. Like if someone like DeSantis said something like that, his ass would be all the way. Well, it already is going back. He's not running for president anymore. But because Trump is someone who kind of like what's the word?
Well, I think what you're trying to say is Trump floods the market with so much controversial shit that some of it gets through because there's so much coming. If Kamala Harris was talking about giving police immunity from prosecution in liberal cities, you guys would be bringing that up just like you're bringing up her locking up black folks for truancy. We're going to talk about how awful it is to lock up a black person for truancy, but we're going to be quiet on giving them immunity from prosecution in black neighborhoods. And that's something he's talking about doing in the future. What we talking about Kamala Harris did is like 4 decades ago. He's talking about doing this in the future.
But keyword did, not said. I don't put a whole lot of trust in what people say.
Right.
Kamala Harris has said plenty of stupid things, and so is Tim Walz. Like, I made friends with school shooters. Like, that was quite the blunder, But like when it comes to their actual record, at least I can say with Donald Trump, even though he didn't finish the wall because he couldn't get enough people to give him the budget that he needed. Congress wasn't going to give it to him. We can actually see like the wall today. We can see what started, and we can see where it would continue to. I can actually trust him on immigration. I think with his think about the way he talks about his enemies abroad. I would burn the shit out of them. Like, he's one of those people who you got to kind of remember who you're talking to when you listen to him. You got to know what you're actually taking seriously and what you can't.
I don't see how a man that you can't even take at face value, as you said, because he just says wild, crazy shit. What difference is that than an old grandpa with dementia like Sleepy Joe? To me, it's almost in the same category. We're just giving one a pass. I mean, you're making it sound like he's somebody's old grandpa that just take what he says with a grain of salt, because sometimes he's out of his head, out of his mind. That's pretty much what you're saying. He almost sounds like he might as well be next to Sleepy Joe.
Two reasons. Number one, severity, and number two, competence. I can at least trust that Trump is competent enough to actually run a country. Joe Biden is at a severity when it comes to his dementia where I'm surprised. I'm wondering if he can work a toilet.
Well, but I will say this though.
Remember, hold on. Before you say anything, do you remember when he had that list of things that he was supposed to say, and then he turned it around, and you could actually read the instructions on how to give a speech? Do you remember that? I
remember that, but I also remember seeing writing on Sarah Palin's hand too, and nobody said she was incompetent. I think that's just
fuck Sarah Palin.
Huh? I think that
I'm gonna be real with you. I never respected her.
But she was cute though. But let me just say this though. she was good. She was good looking. Okay, Sarah Palin was good looking. But let me just say this though. Here's what's odd is we look at Biden and say he's incompetent, but then we look at Trump, who's saying some pretty wild shit like Haitians are eating cats. That's coming from a man that's supposed to be sane. The stuff he is saying should be coming from an insane man. We're saying he knows what he's saying, and he's still making these, like the Sharpie with the hurricane and COVID will be gone by April. He's the dude that's supposed to know what he's talking about, and he's making these wild ass statements. How do you explain that?
I explain it by just always saying Trump got into office through controversy. I think he's using a little bit of the wrong strategy. I think now that he has already been president once, he should lean into that and see himself as a little bit more And sure, still have a little bit of a flair to him, because you don't want to completely abandon who you were. But, since he's had a little experience, he should kind of run on that as the experienced man who's done it once and is going to do it again. But in the first time, everyone laughed. I remember Jon Stewart rightfully laughing his ass off when he heard that Trump is running on the Republican ticket when he did it the first time in 2016. Because, you'd have to be like the governor of a state for a few years, maybe be like a senator, and then you go for president or something like that. And, like a complete outsider like Trump, never.
Let me ask you though, because I've seen it.
Ran for office.
But let me ask you though, because I see Crystal Lopez on YouTube. Do you believe what Trump said about Haitian migrants are eating cats and dogs? Do you believe that that's really a major problem in Springfield, Ohio?
I can't see it being. I think that the Haitian migrants are a problem, but the cats and dogs side of it, I don't think it's as big of a problem, if it is a problem at all. I don't know. That's the problem, is that it's like there's just not enough evidence.
But there's 20, and that's the issue, Jeremy. There's 20,000 migrants in this little ass town. Why isn't there more evidence? I mean, you got 20,000 people. There's only 50,000 residents here, and they put 20,000. I mean, there's so many people in that town, and we're complaining they're having accidents, and they're all over the place. Yet there is no evidence of this, or virtually no evidence of this. There should be evidence of them eating cats and dogs every damn where. Why is it so hard to find this?
The problem is, it's not that there isn't evidence; it's that there's no definitive evidence.
Why?
There's no evidence that can be confirmed.
What? But why is it so hard to find confirmed evidence? You got 20,000 people here that it's allegedly their culture to eat these animals, and you can't find, as you say, definitive evidence. Why is it taking so hard to find that? It's been almost 2 months since he said that. Why is that so hard to come by?
Well, the only thing I could think of is the major internet companies that control most of the information that we have, like Google and YouTube, which is owned by Google, and Alphabet as a whole. Perhaps they're trying to suppress some of that. I've heard conflicting information all the time, but I think we can definitely say one thing for sure: the Haitians there are a problem. Even if they're not a problem with cats and dogs, we can't deny that. And this is why I'm one of the few controversial conservatives that's willing to say something that most conservatives believe but aren't willing to say, which is that even completely legal immigration is something you only want so much of. You want to limit it. You don't want to have zero, but you don't want to have too much, because people need to be able to come in slowly and assimilate.
But if you're pointing out a problem and you fabricate a ridiculous lie, does that not hurt the credibility of the person pointing out the problem?
Yeah, it definitely does. I think it does. I think the problem with Trump is he's so sensational that he sometimes lets his mouth kind of get away from him. But I think that on core issues, he does hit pretty hard the way we need him to. I'm telling people, like, he said some true things about the border, about the fact that Kamala only went to the border very, very recently, and that she did a pretty terrible job with it. The way they're even counting in border crossings now has been corrupted.
How do you feel though? Now I get your point about the migrants, but how do you feel about the fact that because of what Trump said, they've had bomb threats, they had to shut down schools. You got kids in town that are scared, huh?
Some of those bomb threats are hoaxes.
Some are hoaxes. They were having zero before Trump said that.
Yeah, but that's the thing. So I hesitate to say all of them are hoaxes, but I know that a good percentage of them were.
How many bomb threats you need before it's serious?
Well, point taken.
Right.
Look,
so how do you feel that the president of the United States has led to these folks receiving bomb threats, having to shut down their schools, public meetings they had to end? I mean, the Klan came to their damn town. Remember, it's Trump that's supposed to be favorable to diversity, and it is the Democrats that's supposed to be racist. But all of a sudden, the Klan showed up because Trump said to. How do you feel about this notion that he's caused all this havoc on this little town that even the mayor is telling him, don't even come here because you're causing so much drama?
I would say it's pretty hard to criticize is that when the other side has been saying like he's little mustache man, and then all of a sudden and Thomas Crooks gets on top of a roof and goes pew pew, you know. It's pretty hard to. I don't want to say the actual words because I don't want your life to get taken down, but you know, it's not like Trump is the only one engaging in rhetoric that has definitely caused bad things to happen. And I say bad things because once again, we got to be careful about TikTok. TLS.
So what you're basically saying is that he's no better than the other bad people that's doing it.
Yeah, and I wish he was. I wish he was better.
Okay. All right, and I've said that before that, you know, pointing to Democratic problems doesn't defend Trump. It just says, well, look, it's happening on the other side. But yeah, you didn't, and I appreciate the fact that you didn't do that. You didn't defend Trump on it at all. So you're pretty much saying, yeah, the Democrats do it too. But at the end of the day, you're admitting what Trump did was wrong.
Yeah, and the thing is, that's because I'm not a blind MAGA person. I'm pro MAGA because I think that once he is in office, he will do a lot of good things. And I think the few things that he said, like giving cops immunity, I don't think that's going to last, and I think he'll drop it pretty fast.
But is that a legitimate reason for someone, let's say, for instance, like me, who's regularly in liberal cities where he's talking about doing that, and I am a person of color, is that a legitimate reason to be hesitant to vote for the guy?
I wouldn't be super afraid, because there are just some things that, remember when Beto said, "Hell yes, we're going to take your AR-15, your AK-47." Yeah, that was something that we've actually seen happen more and more over the years with different Democratic candidates. That's a little bit crazy. But if he were to say, "Yes, hell yes," and when I'm in office, I'm going to immediately rip the Constitution in two and light it on fire. If he were to say that, I wouldn't take him seriously at all. You know,
the pushback I have is this. I'm hesitant to ever have a president, somebody at that level, say something and the response being, well, don't take that part seriously. In my opinion, if you're running for office, the voters should be able to take you at your word for anything you say. I don't ever want somebody to make a promise. You know, like Kamala Harris is saying that she's going to give people $25,000 for home credit. And for folks on the right that are concerned with the economy, and maybe concerned with where the hell's the money going to come to pay for that? Well, don't worry about that. She really can't do that. No, you're going to focus on that because it's coming out of her mouth. What Trump is saying, this stuff is coming out of his mouth. So if you don't want him to be taken seriously for it, he should stop saying it.
Yeah, I know. And again, if this was anybody else other than Trump, I would be probably more concerned. But you got to remember, this is kind of a guy who likes to kind of remember he even lied about how rich he was. He said he was richer than he really was at one point. It's like $9 billion. He was worth like 4 or something like that. So, you know, it depends on who we're talking about saying it. You know you are. Before I got to move it on. Before I do, Jeremy, you know you're portraying Trump as a guy who has the right direction for America while being a very dishonest man. You're pretty much coming out and saying, yeah, he has the best plan for this country, but he is indeed a very dishonest man. Yeah, I know. I know what I can get, and that's the thing. I'm willing to be very, very honest about what I see in the candidates I see them in, and not worship any one candidate is perfect.
All right, Jeremy, well said. Thank you for coming through.
Thanks for having me on.
All right, anytime, man. All right, moving on with the program. Right, okay, pass him. Here's the issue I have, and I see your comments said pass him the Kool-Aid. The issue I have is this. If, we're talking about Trump here. We can talk about Kamala Harris. People believe she's dishonest too, but let's talk about Trump. And by the way, Trump probably says 10,000 words for every one coming out of Kamala or Biden's mouth. So if let's say Kamala Harris was equally as dishonest as Trump's still going to tell a whole lot more lies because he says more words than Kamala Harris. I mean, and by the way, if somebody on the left tells a lie and they get caught in a lie, they tend to spin or back off on the lie, such as Tim Walz. He's caught in a lie on his Tiananmen Square claim that he was over in Tiananmen Square doing the uprising, which he came back and said, I'm a knucklehead. He also was caught in a lie suggesting that he carried, rifles while in war. He's caught in a lie doing that. The difference between Tim Walz, let's say, and former President Trump is when he gets caught in a lie, he don't keep doubling and tripling down on the lie. Whereas Trump gets caught in a lie and he keeps saying it over and over and over again, like, fuck you. What I said is true and I'm going to keep saying it anyway, even if I got caught in it. So at the end of the day, yeah, you're going to get far more lies per square inch out of Trump than you'll ever get out of most of the other politicians, because once they get caught, they back off on it. Whereas Trump just keeps repeating it over and over again. So, but like I said, he did portray Trump as having the right direction for America while simultaneously being a very dishonest guy. My concern with that is this. If you know you're dealing with somebody that's very dishonest, how do you know when what he's saying is true? Okay, we believe Trump has the best direction for the country, but yeah, he's very dishonest. Well, how do you know that the stuff he is saying that's the direction for this? How do you know what's true and what's not? If he's very dishonest, how do you know some of the stuff he's saying, like the tariffs and things like that? How do you know he really means that? That's where I think you can run into an issue when you're dealing with somebody that you favor while you're admitting they're very dishonest. What's making you pick and choose what you think is true and what's not? Looking in the comments, how do you trust a dishonest man? And some could ask that as well. Stick the Ruler says, Tim, they know he doesn't mean anything he says, but being a dictator. You really think Trump is trying to be a dictator? Take a look at Trump's 60-minute video, Instagram. Yeah, he doesn't have any. I have to see that. Real quick, going back to the box, continuing on with the program, and thank you folks that have been holding. Wanted to go to, I don't know what I'm looking at there, but one of my subscribers at Mr. Full Service. Good afternoon, better yet, good evening. Welcome to the program, Mr. Full Service.
What's up, Tim? How you been, man?
I'm always hanging around like Mike Pence on January 6th. You know how it is. Just hanging in there.
So listen, let's start with this. I need you people to know. You know those bomb threats that went to Springfield? Do you know where they came from?
They claim they came from overseas.
Yes, they actually tracked every last one of them back to the Middle East.
But doesn't it sound suspicious that
Let me ask a question.
Wait, let me ask you this. Hold on, hang on. I'll let you. No, hang on. Let me ask you this, and then we can go to your second question. Doesn't it sound kind of suspicious that some little town in Ohio that nobody knows about suddenly starts receiving international bomb threats by the dozens? Now, clearly you've heard of virtual private networks, VPNs. This town out of the middle of nowhere all of a sudden is receiving bomb threats that happen to coincide with what Trump said. You really believe those international threats are...
It's not as little as people try to make it out to be. I'm not far from Springfield. You know that, right?
Yeah, but you think people overseas know about that city?
After Trump, yeah, absolutely. After we had an influx of Haitian migrants, I'd say that they do.
How did they know that?
Tim,
How did they know that?
Here's the real question, Tim. When they were asked, when the government of Springfield was pressed on the Haitian migrants, taking ducks and pets and everything else, they said that there was no what? Credible sources, right?
Right.
Did they actually go look?
Should they have had to if the president is telling them that?
If the people of Springfield are complaining about what's going on, this is the people of Springfield that were complaining about what was going on with the Haitian migrants. Had nothing to do
Not
with
all the people.
You know, that literally, Tim, that was the meeting. The meeting is online. You can actually go look at it for yourself. There was over 12 citizens of Springfield sitting there talking about the Haitians, taking ducks out of the ponds. Even the member of the board said, yeah, I heard the same thing. So then the city manager calls in and says, oh, there's no credible reports. And the citizens came back and said, that's because you never came and looked.
So you're telling me the citizens were complaining about cats and dogs being eaten?
Yes.
And the police didn't respond, the city manager ignored it. They just all in sync decided to ignore the citizens of their town.
And this is one of those things where I always tell you, research over me search. You could go look this up yourself. You can actually go. The meetings are posted.
I know about the meetings, but I'm going to ask you this. Why is it that not a single person showed up to the meetings with any actual proof or evidence?
Because the police are the ones who actually have to go look. If say, for instance, I call in a crime. If I report in a crime and the police don't go to actually investigate that crime, Do you realize there are all kinds of videos floating around the internet right now from Springfield?
No.
With ducks being roasted, cats, but of course, what do they say? Oh, well, we can't prove that that's what that is. We can't even prove that that's in Springfield. It's all about the word.
And so you believe now that is a Republican administration in that town, and the Republican administration. Hold on, the Republican administration in that town.
Springfield is not Republican.
Yeah, it is. The mayor of Springfield is a Republican.
No, sir. The mayor of Springfield is an independent. He is not a Republican.
Oh, okay. All right. So, and the governor of Ohio too, he's independent as well.
DeWine is a Republican.
So why are they not telling the truth if what you're saying is true?
DeWine didn't deny it.
They did.
J.D. Vance didn't even deny it. He said, this is what the people of Springfield are calling in and telling my office.
And all of the cops, none of them.
And the cops never sat there and went and investigated, not a one. And that is what the city council, that's what the meeting was about. We're reporting things that are going on, and you guys aren't actually coming and checking it out. We have a problem with that. Yeah. And that's what the citizens of Springfield were saying. You're not doing your job.
Yeah, I have a big problem with the claim because I have had people sending me video evidence of what they claim is it. And first we started out with a black woman that was outside eating a cat, and you clearly
that wasn't
see
in Springfield. That was a little bit away.
Right, but it's amazing at how many people thought it was. It's amazing at how many people thought that was in Springfield. And by the way, in addition to it not being in Springfield, there is no evidence at all that that person is a Haitian migrant because they never said a word. It's amazing.
Okay, so they know now that no, she had legal status in America, but she was Haitian.
But there's so much misinformation floating around on it. I don't know what the hell to believe. All I know is if it's 20,000 migrants in that town doing that, and it's in their culture, there should be heaps of videos. It should be easy. By the way, why can't you find a Haitian that'll show you?
Actually, there's a Haitians on here who talk about, yes, in Haiti, that he do.
I'm not talking about in Haiti. I'm talking about in Springfield, Ohio.
But I'm just saying, they're not talking about it there, obviously, because that's going to make their people look bad. Now, here's the thing about the KKK. You weren't telling people that that was in Washington State. They were part of Volksfront. They're already out there.
What are you talking about?
So the KKK didn't show up in Springfield after this. They showed up in Washington. That's Washington State.
Why would the KKK, in regards to what happened in Springfield, show up in Washington State? What is over 1,000 miles away?
Because they were already there. That's where the KKK. Have you ever heard of Volksfront?
No.
So you got to look this one up too. Volksfront, Oregon and Washington State, also Idaho. That's where their biggest faction are. That was started by a man named Tom Metzger way back in the flipping 80s, also a Democrat.
Let me interrupt you and ask you this. Because Rob Roode, the governor of Springfield, why are you saying he's an independent? He's listed online as a Republican.
Dude is an independent.
Based on what?
Look at the way he votes.
What the hell does that got to do with it?
When he first ran, I didn't know dude was a flipping Republican.
He is.
The way he votes and the way he came on, he was an independent. Hold on, I got the flipping clip. Hold on, I'll tell you.
Wait, hold on. You realize how many folks, I can say that Senator Joe Manchin is a Republican if you look at the way he votes. I mean, is that what you're using as a litmus test, is the way they vote?
No. The man called himself independent.
He is listed as a Republican.
Hold on, I'm playing the clip, Tim. Hold on, I got you, buddy. I won't say anything without actually having clips to back it up with.
I'm dying to hear that.
So anyway, but look up Volksfront out in Oregon.
I want to find him as an independent first. I want you to clear up the first thing you said.
Oh, yeah. So, when it came to the Haitians and all that other stuff, no. The citizens are the ones who've been saying this.
Wait. I'm still trying to figure out what's making you say that mayor is not a Republican.
Oh, yeah. Hold on. Let's go back into it. Hold on. We get it pulled up.
I mean, because he climbed the ranks in Ohio.
Hold on, real quick. I'm going to go on mute.
Where is he getting this stuff? Okay, he's flip-flopping. Where's the recording? Yeah, I'm interested to hear what he has to say. I mean, 99% of black guys I've spoke to would never vote for Trump. I think that there's far more than 1% of black men that are going to vote for Trump, but he's not going to win the black male vote. Surely that's not going to happen. He's not going to get 51% of black males. I don't think he's going to get 31%. He might get 21. He might get 21%. We're talking black males. Now, black females is going to be lower. So he's not going to get like 20% of the black vote. I don't believe that's going to happen. But black males, a lot of black males are not down with the LGBT shit. A lot of black males are not down with feminism. A lot of this stuff is the Democrats have gotten into. Some of the more far progressive evolutions of the Democratic Party, the alpha males among the African American community are not down with it. And Trump comes across as a strong alpha male. So there are a lot of men that support former President Trump than even in the African American community. Also, too, those abortion bans, they're actually fairly popular with alpha males. A lot of alpha males are like, well, shit, we should have something to say about our own kids and things like that. And certainly when you take into consideration how strict some of the child support laws have been on men, they're like, well, maybe it's about time women face responsibility for kids too. So there's a lot of alpha males. And by the way, my caller dropped. I did not drop my last caller, but it looks like he did drop out of the box or something. So having said that, we will continue on if that's what happened. I don't know why he dropped. I didn't do that. The reason I don't want to mention the reason was because he was linked to politics as Anthony Aldridge. Well, like I said, in regards to him suggesting that the mayor of mayor of Springfield, Ohio is an independent, that's verifiably not true. Now, but he was countering what is, well, I can show he voted certain ways, meaning is he's an independent. I'm assuming if that's the case, then RFK, who's supporting Trump and might end up on Trump's administration, should never be called a Republican. What's next? Tulsi Gabbard? She's not, is she not a Democrat because you can show a Republican, because you can show the way she's voted? Tulsi Gabbard's voting history certainly isn't one of a Republican. If you judge people on how they voted, shit, you can come up with any damn thing. At the end of the day, the guy is a registered Democrat, or Republican rather, and that's what he ran as. So I'm going to suggest that Robert Rue, or whatever his name is, Rob Rue. Maybe his name is Robert, I don't know, but Rob Rue is what he's listed as. Rob Rue, the mayor of Springfield, Ohio, he's a Republican. That's what he is actually listed as. Doesn't matter how he voted. He is listed as a Republican. Looking at the comments, MAGA dropped a call, making up false narrative. Shaking my head off, says Mr. Mike. You must be new to the program, Mike, if you think I would ever drop a call because somebody is critical of yours truly. Have you not heard all three of my last callers have been MAGA to some varying degree or more. All three of them have been. So yeah, the idea that I would drop a call because they have a difference of opinion or something shows you aren't listening to the program. Going back to the comments, we'll go to, I don't know what I was just looking at there a minute ago, but Timothy Robbins, good afternoon, welcome to the program. I don't want unless you're holding the right way up, the sand just comes out of the brain. Aldrich, all right, Timothy, good evening.
What's going on, buddy?
Not much at all. You been listening in?
A little bit. I heard you arguing about the whole cat dog thing.
What's your opinion on that?
I don't know. Maybe I jumped a little premature. In the big scope of things, all the people that are suffering in America today, I don't think Ohio's cat dogs are a really big priority on the stuff that's going on, even right now in Florida.
Yeah, I don't think it's a big priority, but is it a big lie?
I don't know, but it's probably politics, if that's what you want to call politics today. Just evil's doing for the sake of doing evil.
Now, I was going to ask, are you likely to vote for Trump in this election?
That's an interesting question, because in the beginning, I was a lot of hell yeah, even though I didn't vote for him in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
But here's what I'm going to tell you, Tim. I do not want the Republican Party to win in 2024 because things are so set up like this, the CHIPS Act, the infrastructure bill, all those bills, they don't show up on Biden's ledger as far as his accounting, his budgeting is going, because those bills haven't come due yet.
Mm-hmm.
But they will come due on the next president's budget. And he's going to get blamed for all that spending that's going to happen. And I don't want Republicans to get strapped with that. For a change, honestly, I want Democrats to feel the full force of their policies.
Oh.
And I prefer that Harris win, and she have to answer for that in the next 4 years.
So you believe the Democrats have jacked up the economy and they should sit and stew in it so that people can realize where it came from?
I don't think necessarily like Democratic people like me and you, but politicians themselves. Yeah, I think they should go ahead and let that rooster come home to crow, and we'll see what the full brunt of 8 years of Democrat policy plays out. And then if we're wrong, we're wrong, and if we're right, we're right. And if we're right and the economy gets tanked, because in my personal opinion, there's no president that's going to save us from what's coming from this fiscal irresponsibility that we're all fixing to have to eat from. So I don't want Trump to be president because there's nothing he's going to be able to do to fix it. Congress is not going to reel in its power. It's not going to stop its spending. The entire country is subsidized by government. That's why it looks like we have a great economy when really, in fact, we really don't.
You don't think the political, now you're saying it looks like we have a great economy, but we really don't. You don't think the economic analysts will be able to tell, because they're saying the economy under Biden is doing fairly well. You're telling me you know something where the numbers are skewed and they don't?
Well, yeah, because I have real money in the market. I'm not some guy with an degree that looks at a bunch of numbers. I mean, I'm a guy that has a substantial amount of money in the markets. I have a business. I have 5 businesses, actually. And I know because I got skin in the game. I know what's coming.
And you don't think any of these...
If you pulled...
You don't think any of these analysts or investors have any skin in the game at all?
No, absolutely not. You show me an economy that's healthy, where it has a 5% Federal Reserve interest rate and a debt of almost $36 trillion. That's not a healthy economy. That's not a healthy anything.
So how do you respond? Let me give you this. This is coming from one of the viewers on the show, Fancy Prancy, who makes an interesting point. Now, she is MAGA, by the way, and she says, you want to let the American economy sink even more just simply to prove a point. In other words, because you believe the Biden-Harris team has screwed the economy up, you want them to be in power for another term, or at least Kamala Harris in power for another term, just so Americans can see that they screwed the economy up. So you really want to allow America to sink economically just to prove that point?
It's not going to sink economically, Tim. And this happens every 40 or 50
well, shit,
years.
You're making it sound like it's already sank.
No. America gets fat, just like it did under FDR, under government spending. The same thing started to happen, and Americans seen the struggles, seen the part, and they changed their ways. They elected different people in. Same thing happened with Carter and Reagan. Same thing happened under Obama. This is why Trump became president the first go around, because it wasn't because Obama was doing so great with the economy. He was doing it in spite of what he was saying. And you can't pump $25 trillion into an economy over 15 years and then tell everybody the economy's doing great.
But under your
single industry in this country.
But under your
This is not healthy because it's doing good on its own. It's doing good because government is pumping it up.
Okay, but under your suggestion,
$74 million.
Okay, but under your suggestion, as Michael Martinez on YouTube states, under your suggestion of leaving the Democrats in there, he's saying, so basically make it worse for yourself as well. You're basically saying that if they screwed the economy up, aren't you also saying by leaving them in there it's going to be worse for you too?
Well, my vote isn't really about me. No matter who wins.
That ain't what I'm asking you. That ain't what I'm asking you. That's not what I'm at. You're answering the question. You're answering something I'm not asking you. If we do what you're suggesting, keep Kamala and Biden in, or Kamala rather, Biden's gone, but if we keep Kamala in there, based on what you said that they've done to the economy, would it not remain bad for you as well?
No,
Why not?
because I'm wealthy. Nothing that's going to happen. Nothing that is not going to affect me in any way. I'm not going to get hungry. I'm not going to lose one of my houses. One of my businesses aren't going to fail. I'm going to be fine either way.
So it doesn't matter.
This isn't affecting me.
So even though Biden gave us a bad economy, in your opinion, because you're wealthy, it didn't affect your finances at all.
No, it made my finances better. I mean, me voting against Biden would be voting against my business interests and voting on my personal interests. Me voting against Trump, voting with Trump would be my personal interest against my business interests because, Biden has pumped in with this infrastructure bill a tremendous amount of money into my business because I hang fiber to nowhere. My whole business is based off of hanging fiber or internet out into the farmlands where nobody wants it. Nobody asked for it. The market didn't ask for it. But Biden's administration, as they usually do, they try to create a false need, a fake need to create jobs where jobs aren't needed and just waste federal money. And that's been going on for 20 years. It's not just, I'm not saying just Biden, but I'm saying when you create a CHIPS Act and you create an infrastructure bill and you keep creating all these bills, you're sending money to Ukraine, not because of Ukraine, it's because it's a way to spur the economy in America. You're just creating jobs where jobs are not needed. You're creating a need where there is no demand.
Now, and I see
just wasting money to keep the economy going.
I gotta say,
this is where the inflation comes from. You're not going to spend your way out of inflation. You're just creating more inflation.
I gotta say, you are the first guest, because I'm reading the comments as we're talking. You're the first guest that is actually on the opposing side of both MAGA and liberals. They're both like, now Naeem Barber in the comments says, so how do you even know if the economy is doing bad?
You know when the economy is doing bad is when the federal government, the Federal Reserve, in spite of the government, does two opposite things. The federal government wants to spend, and the Federal Reserve wants to create unemployment. So they make interest rates go so high that nobody can afford to take out loans. Not businesses, not individuals. You stop buying houses. Everybody stops buying cars because it's too expensive. That's the Federal Reserve slapping the federal government in the face and telling them, you could put all the money you want out there, but we're going to make it so expensive to take out a loan to spend it, you're not going to be able to spend it. And that's what has occurred.
And you do realize inflation.
It's not a healthy economy. A healthy economy is growing, it's thriving. The interest rates are down to 1 or 2%. The Federal Reserve wants you to take loans. It wants you to spend money. It wants you to drive the economy. The Federal Reserve right now is telling you, stop spending money. People, stop spending money. It's causing the inflation. The inflation rate isn't low because everything is great and everybody's doing healthy. The inflation rate is low because the Federal Reserve is curbed.
When did we last have a 1% inflation rate?
COVID.
You know that's not coming back unless we get another pandemic, right?
No, it was prior to COVID.
You're telling me under the Trump administration, inflation rate was at 1%?
I'm telling you, during the Obama administration, interest rates were almost zero.
Okay, you got me. All right, I'll leave it at that. I got to move on, Timothy. Listen, you're the first person that's actually went on the opposing side of both MAGA and liberal simultaneously. I've never seen that, but I do appreciate you coming in.
I'll tell you this, Tim. Galileo was part of the 30% of dissenters, and it turned out he was right too.
All right, a Galileo in modern times. Appreciate it. All right, moving on with the program. That was different. I've never seen that. That was a bit different. We always entertain a little bit guests that are a little bit different. That's fine. Tap the screen, by the way. I haven't been promoting that. Get us up to about 55,000. We can see Vex says you are not Galileo. What was the presidential debate where the guy said, Senator, you're no, I can't think of it, but it came up in a debate where somebody compared himself to somebody. And he was like, Senator, you are no, it wasn't Dan Quayle. I cannot remember somebody cue in the comments. You know the debate I'm talking about because it was a big line for that particular debate. And that's kind of what came to mind when you said that. Going back to the box. Yeah, you're no Kennedy. That's what it was. You're no Kennedy, says Team Carter. Tap the screen, certainly on YouTube, smash that like button. Help the program out. Name Barber says, I'm a network engineer. You've never hung fiber in a place that didn't have the infrastructure or need. Amazon is still working to get buildings equipped with fiber in Washington State. Yeah, why would you hang fiber? Because he said fiber to nowhere. Why would you hang fiber if they didn't need it? I guess in the future, I don't know that. Maybe I suppose if you're building a new high rise or something, where you kind of expect maybe there will be tenants in it. Huh. I've never heard of that. Anyhow, going in the box, I bet going back to the comment section. Yes, I do every day of 10,000 miles. I don't know what you're saying. You say you hang 10,000 miles of fiber? What are you saying there? Basically, Trump, if he gives you a gold coin, trust me, you can check it out. Don't know what that means. Do not know what that means. All right, the dude was divided in being rich or racist. Cool Ed said my last caller was trying to figure out whether he wanted to be rich or racist. I don't know where to go with that. Let me go back to the box. You guys ain't tapping the screen at all. God, this is awful in terms of the participation. This must be a really bad program tonight. Sometimes we get a decent topic, other times maybe not. But wow, the tapping the screen is pretty damn poor tonight. Maybe I should go have dinner. As someone who actually does fiber, there is no such thing as hanging fiber to nowhere, says Acme. There's another viewer that also says the same thing. I don't see what the value of it would be. I mean, that's like literally going through a structure and just putting in conduit that nobody's going to use. Why do it? Going back to the box, Justin Hayes. Good evening. Welcome to the program. If it brings them up, isn't actually, and I know you have enough to do it, but one of those advertisements. Anthony Irish, I don't quite get what you're saying. That TikTok do not let me know you was on. See, Osby, maybe that's why the numbers have been so low this evening. TikTok didn't send out the notification. I don't know what the hell happened, but it is what it is. It happens sometimes. I got the backup page. I haven't used that in a few days. Maybe I need to use that because the numbers were better there. Sometimes TikTok don't like what we're talking about, and they can play games. A lot of censorship goes on. Even though I don't believe in block banning or censoring anyone, I can't control the TikTok guys. Oh, Timothy. Now, shout out to you for the galaxy. Made a rather slow night more interesting. Thank you. Do appreciate that. TikTok is shadow banning you, says Zion. Maybe that's what it is. Where do you live? Infrastructure been starting where I live. They're building new bridges and already got roads and highways going. Roads and highways in a town that nobody's there? Now, here's some fiber to nowhere story I somewhat have seen. You're putting in internet. And once again, Timothy, shout out to you. You're putting in internet and you're upgrading the technology that's currently in place. Cable lines, or you're switching from cable to internet, or copper to fiber, because fiber can carry so much more data than copper. And in the future, some of the properties in the neighborhood may end up wanting to switch over from fiber to copper. So when they do, the fiber's already under the ground and already been wired to their apartment complexes or maybe to a demarc or something on the side of the house. Now, this is what I used to do back in the day when I was a telecommunications engineer. And now that I think of it, there is a possibility where you could put fiber into nowhere. Now that I'm thinking about it, for that simple reason that I just stated. Certainly out in the country where people don't get internet, high-speed internet is easy. Things happen in the city a lot faster than in the country. But once a business that delivers internet is out in a more rural area, well, fiber goes underground. We're not going to keep digging up the soil every time somebody wants to switch from copper to fiber. So we're going to go ahead and lay fiber to every unit in this area. And it'll be on a box on the side of the wall they can tap into once or whatever. It'll be somewhere around. You might see a little device, a little physical structure coming out of the ground or something that they can tap into. But that fiber is there, and the moment they decide to become a customer of the company that's providing it, they can turn it on. And then they can easily wire it from that structure that's right by their property into their house. I actually believe that there is validity to that based on what I just said, because I used to be part of the crew that turned it up. So he might be right about that. He might actually be right about that. Just like they used to lay copper lines to nowhere, you know, and that, like I said, we used to call it testing box to the demarc. That's what we used to do. We'd run patterns over it to make sure it was good, and it would be there. So that when the person moved in, or tenants moved in, or businesses moved into the structure, it was already there, and they could just tap in it from there and wire it up the last, you know, you'd almost call it the last mile or whatever. You're going to wire it up from it, the fiber or copper, depending on the era we're talking about, would go to the base of the structure, maybe the base of a high rise or the base of an apartment building. And it's there. So now when tenants come in, if they want fiber lines, then you can just wire it up from that box to their apartment, which is only going to be a few feet away. I actually think that that's true. Looking in the comments, sorry I just got from the police, so I should know. Yikes. That's the reason Donald Trump got shot. I don't want to say that too much, but that's the reason why Donald Trump got hit, because the police tried to stop it. Unfortunately, no one else. The police did try and stop the... Whoa! Wow! Thank you. I haven't seen that in months. Timothy Well, thank you with the well. Thank you. They tried to stop the attempted assassination. They got told by the public, but they couldn't get out there, and it stopped. I don't know what you were trying to say, but I'd like to know. The people told them someone's being talking about taking a shot at. I'm trying to state what you're saying without saying the word shot so much, because it's going to get me banned. But you're saying, and I did see video of people that were warning the police that somebody was on that roof. You're talking about people who were trying to, okay, your statement says the people told him rounds are being fired at somebody, basically, at one client, the ladder, and they had to come down. He went up the ladder, had to come down because the guy could have popped him, is what you're saying. I don't quite get what you're saying by that. Okay, let me go back to the box real quick. Continuing on with the program there. Shays, good afternoon. But I think he might have a valid claim about that fiber to nowhere, because I was a telecom engineer with AT&T in Chicago for 10 years, and I was the one that was testing that to make sure it worked once they put it there. I actually believe that that's valid. I see you there, pimp name. I don't know what's happening with the box. We'll continue on. Yes, the police dig up the ladder, but you had to come down. Anthony, I probably would need to bring you up, because I don't quite get what you're trying to say. And you're saying a lot of it. I mean, if the ladder and the guy, I've got the gun, I would have put my hand up. And I am aware that once they told the police there was a bad guy on the roof at that Trump rally in Butler, Pennsylvania. A cop tried to climb up the ladder to peek on the roof and see what they could see. And the guy aimed a weapon at him, and he slid down the ladder. I'm aware of what happened, but I don't know how it correlates to what you're saying. Real quick in the comments, I live in a city that has one company that offers fiber. Yeah, that fiber is probably already at your residence. Like what he was talking about, fiber to nowhere. Your house is nowhere until you activate it. I work for a water department. I always found it crazy how many deceased telecommunication lines are buried next to newly installed fiber. Well, the old telecommunication lines are going to be, they're probably just going to be there, because it costs probably too much money to dig them up and reclaim the copper. But you can send data, a lot more data on copper than you can on fiber than you can on copper. And I used to test T1 and T3 lines. It's for folks who know what I'm talking about. Going back to the box. I don't know what I'm looking at there. A pimp. Always bringing up a pimp. I had to get fiber installed to shake Comcast. Well, Yeah. I'm surprised Comcast don't have fiber in your area. A pimp. Good evening. That's her back, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. What brought you up?
Oh man, I just came in. I was seeing what y'all was talking about. I see the cats and dogs still going, man.
The cats and dogs are going to continue to go until solid evidence is shown. And in my opinion, I don't think we're anywhere near that. I don't think Trump or Trump supporters have provided anywhere near enough solid evidence that suggests that it is a common occurrence in Springfield, Ohio, that pets are being consumed. It might be one and I'm going to be generous, even though I don't even believe this, but I'm going to be generous and say it might be one or two people doing it. But in terms of 20,000 migrants, I don't even think it's 0.001% of it. I mean, it's just not happening. There should be way more evidence, way more footage.
I agree, and I've been saying, and I think I've told you before, until Peter comes out and says something, I think there's really nothing there. I mean,
yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah,
that's a good point. Where are all the animal lovers? I mean, there are plenty of Republican animal lovers. Where are the animal lovers in those organizations? Why aren't they speaking up?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I've seen Peter throw paint on people at the Oscars and, all the crazy stuff they do in the name of protecting animals. And this has been floating around for 2 months and they haven't made their way up there to see if any of this is true.
Yeah, and I think that speaks volumes is that, and like I said before on the program, that I personally, who don't have a lot of money, I'd fly out to Ohio and pay at least $2,000 to somebody. If you're going to let me film you processing an animal, I want a live animal, cat, dog, maybe a duck or goose, but I mainly want a cat or a dog, particularly a dog, because I've seen no evidence of a dog. I need to see a dog live, skinned, gutted, processed, seasoned, and ate. I'd pay a couple grand for that because that video would be worth millions of views because the right is eager to show what Trump said is true. And they can't prove it. The video of the African-American or the woman that was outside in Kenton, Ohio, which was not even in Springfield, that video's got millions of views because MAGA's so eager to prove it. So imagine how many views one that was genuine would get.
Well, Tim, I was probably about 10, maybe 12. Paws is a fucking raccoon. So, and I asked him, like, why the fuck they keep the paws on? He said, because you know it's not a dog you're eating.
Wow, that's cool.
That's what he told me. I didn't eat the shit, you know what I'm saying? But he had it in there. He was getting ready to do whatever the hell he was going to do with it. But I honestly thought it was a fucking dog. And he explained to me why.
I actually hear that.
Yeah, I wasn't going to try it. I'm a city boy. I wasn't fucking with it.
I am too, but I like meat. Yeah, I'm a...
Yeah, I hear you. I mean, I'll try a lot of shit, but when I initially thought it was a dog, I was done right there. No, so that was cool.
Fair enough. But you do agree with what I'm saying is that you got all these folks in this little small ass town. If it was their culture to eat these animals, there would be more footage. And by the way, as I've pointed out before on other broadcasts, Haitians have been in America since all of us were born. We've always had Haitian. I mean, there's a town called Little Haiti. If it was part of their culture to eat cats and dogs, you'd have heard of it before. Up in the boroughs of New York, there are plenty of Haitians up there. Wasn't what was his name? Wycliffe from the Fugees? He was a Haitian. Yeah, there's Haitians every damn where. You would have been heard of them eating cats. And doesn't DJ Khaled that come looking for you with Haitians? They got Haitians every damn where. You would have been heard about this.
And I'm 47, and the joke was don't go down to the Chinese food store.
Yes.
So I mean, what are we talking about here, people? You know what I mean? Like, other than Trump saying it with no evidence, which I think I just don't understand why we let a man off the hook to just say stuff at that level of speaking when he speaks to millions with no proof.
Because he like one of the reason he gets let off the hook is like one of my callers who is voting for Trump stated. He tells so many of these things in such a short period of time that you can't hold him accountable for all of them because so many. I mean, it's like literally somebody firing lies with a Gatling gun. Some of those shots are going to be ignored. I mean, it's just too many of them. I mean, we talking about the Haitian migrants. How many other things have he said since the Haitian migrants? I mean, whereas Kamala Harris or Biden or Tim Walz, they give limited speeches. So you're not going to have, and also too, when they get caught in something, they tend to leave it alone. Trump keeps repeating it over and over again. So I mean,
and like I said, I'm a pretty fair guy. My real name is Ferris. You know, I'm a pretty fair guy. You know, I don't agree with everything, but if I saw something there that was worth voting for, trust me, I would. But I think it's very dangerous to have someone in there that unpredictable. You know what I mean? Because words matter. You know, especially on a global stage. You can't just wake up one day and say the hell with this person or this dictator, and I didn't mean it. It's too late once it comes out your mouth.
Well, and not only that, but the fact is they're getting Gen X says furback country ass said pass the hot sauce. Anyway, he's talking about when you thought you were eating dog.
Nah, I ain't fucking eating no dog. I leave that to you, Gen X. You make your raccoon sandwich, brother.
Oh my god, raccoons! Oh my god, raccoon sandwiches. But yeah, that's what I'm saying. I do agree that the amount of things that Trump says that are controversial, it's so numerous that there's no way you could hold him accountable on all of that stuff. I do believe that if Walz, Harris, or even Biden was saying some of the things Trump has said that are not honest, their careers will be over with. But with Trump, yeah, he's getting a pass.
Yeah, I mean, it's different. You know, I've always lived by that model that, you know, you don't write checks that your ass got to cash. You know what I mean? And he going to be writing the checks, and our asses as Americans are going to have to cash them. You know, whether that's, you know, military might or whatever it does to our economy with all these fucking tariffs he wants to put on everybody. It just doesn't make sense to me. Like I said, you said it perfectly earlier. So $2 gas is worth me losing personal liberties?
Yeah.
Like,
the promising to bring back stop and frisk and get police immunity from prosecution is so bad that, the only thing MAGA can really say on that is he's not going to be successfully able to do that. I mean, because even most MAGA I don't think I've talked to anybody that believes giving the police immunity from prosecution is a good idea. No matter, even the most devoted Trump supporters don't think that that's a good idea.
Yeah, but then, you know, then they'll come here and twist themselves in the press and say, well, he didn't mean it. And you hit him on that too. So what the fuck does he mean? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, what does he mean? You know what I mean? Is he going to deport everybody? Is he going to be a dictator day one? You know,
well, some of that I think he does. Like, he's promising the largest deportation in history. I feel confident he means that. I don't know if he's going to be able to do it, because just like when he became president the first time, he wanted a total and complete ban on Muslims. There's rumors that he talked about putting a moat around the United States with dangerous animals in it. He supported the, what do they call them, drowning devices that Texas Governor Greg Abbott put on. I mean, he is really gung-ho about supporting the border or securing the border. So I do believe that largest deportation in history thing would come true, or at least as far as he could take it. I do believe that.
But see, that's so here we are again, split hairs. You believe that? I don't. Like I said, what the fuck do we believe?
You don't believe he would? You don't believe he would try to get them out of here?
No, I don't.
Really?
And the reason I think, well, I've always said, I really personally don't give a shit about the border. I think that's a poor people argument, because he's one of the rich people that benefit off the cheap labor and everything that comes with it. So I don't think he really cares about the border. He knows his base does. He knows there's red meat for them. But I don't think Trump does, because he would have did it.
Well, he did try his best to implement the Muslim ban. Huh?
But did he though, Tim?
Yeah.
I mean,
the court shot him down. He did try the Muslim ban. The court stopped that. Same thing with the wall. The Democrats stopped that. He is trying to do that stuff.
Okay. So I go back to what I just said. So what do we believe? Because, you know, according to all this stuff that's coming out about the Jack Smith shit, people told him what he could and couldn't do. So I believe that they told him, you know, you can't do this. But he's like, fuck it, I'm going to say it anyway, because they're going to believe what you just believed, Tim.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll agree with you. Like in the comments, Just B says he would try and fail miserably. He might fail, just like with the police immunity thing. I believe he wants to do that as well. But the border, I think Trump wants to secure the border to the point where he would be willing to violate the Constitution and break the law to do it. I think he really, really wants to secure the border and get those folks out of this country. I think he would take it as far as it would go. He would really have to be stopped doing that.
So he would break the law.
Yeah.
You see my trouble here? So you're admitting that he would break the law from a criminal.
Well, I'm just telling you.
I mean, what are we talking about here? People, do we want laws? Do we want them or do we not? they knock Miss Harris because she was the top cop.
Yeah.
But it's okay because Trump is the top criminal. Like, what are we doing?
We want laws unless breaking the law is what we favor. That's how it works. People say, I want to follow the Constitution, but if they'll alter the Constitution or suspend the Constitution to do something you like, then folks are okay with that too. Just like the liberals will say they like the Constitution, but if you're willing to suspend the Second Amendment, something we tend to favor on the left, we're okay with that. Just like Trump is talking about stop and frisk, which is a clear violation of the Fourth Amendment. The right talks about how much they're in favor of the Constitution. But yeah, if you bring back stop and frisk and violate the put what do they call it? Folks who take a knee or burn the flag. Trump is talking about giving them a year in prison. That's a clear violation of the First Amendment. But they're okay with that. So people are okay with violating the Constitution if it fits their agenda.
Yeah, and I don't like that on either side.
No, I don't either.
Valid point taken, and I'm just saying, me myself, I'm straight down the middle. What's good for me is good for thee. So hey, me personally, I think it's a big deal that he has 34 felony charges against him. You know what I'm saying? Or he's convicted now. The way the dude moves, man, I know a snake when I see one. You know what I mean? I'm not saying Harris is the bright beacon on the hill or whatever, but I ask my MAGA supporters, what is the line? Because he seems to keep pushing it.
Well, but they're gonna counter and say, if you're letting all of these unvetted people in the country, the Democrats have already crossed the line. They're going to say that right off the bat. All these people in the country, we don't know who the hell they are. You're going to ask me what the line is? You've already crossed it.
Okay, touche.
Yeah.
But are those vetted people in the cabinet in the United States government?
Wait, say that again.
These unvetted people, they just come across the border and laying low and doing these little miscellaneous crimes. What I'm saying is, who does Trump vet? Everybody that had worked for him, they was horrible, but they was great when you brought them in.
Yeah, but Trump, you talking about but with Trump, you're talking about a handful of people. With the immigrants, you're talking about tens of thousands of people
with no power.
Well, you don't know. I mean, you got folks going in folks' apartment buildings out in Colorado with long rifles. You're gonna say they don't have no power?
Man, I could go see that right here on MLK any day of the week. And those ain't immigrants.
Yeah, but you don't want to bring in people that's going to do this. It's already bad enough because most of the crime in this country, by far, is committed by American citizens. But you don't want to bring in people that's going to add to it.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, man, I don't care about the border too much. I kind of entertain the argument because I always tell people, with all this 2A, all these prisons, clearly nobody does crime and pew-pewing like us.
Yeah.
Bottom line.
Fair enough.
So, like I said, but it's all good, man. Like I said, I just want to chime in. I see the no ID thing up there.
That's crazy.
I mean, it is kind of crazy, but shit, we in crazy times, so it is what it is. You know what I mean? I think he's just matching energy, to be honest with you. I mean, like I said, what is the line? You got people testifying that this guy said that even if we lose, we're gonna say we won.
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, Steve Bannon. Yeah, Steve Bannon was clearly caught on audio October 31st, 6 days before January 6th, or 6 days before the election, rather. 5 or 6 days before the election, clearly saying if Trump is losing, we're gonna just say he won anyway. I mean, so yeah, it's clear they had planned that out ahead of time. Furback, appreciate it. Thank you.
As always, Tim. Hey, one more thing, man.
Sure.
Texas or whoever the fuck was in their little feelings and shit, man, go take a NyQuil. Go have a pop and see us in the morning, bro. Get off my man Tim.
All right. Appreciate the support. Thank you. Real quick in the comments, somebody pointed out C3C Grant, I think that says, stop and frisk cleaned up New York and it was safe then. Not for the people being stopped and frisked, it wasn't. The reason stop and frisk works and people support it is because they don't give a damn about the people that are being wronged by it. Because I tell you this, and there are some African Americans that have supported stop and frisk as well. It's generally older black people. The fact is, the people who support stop and frisk are among those who are very unlikely to be stopped and frisked. People who are likely to be stopped and frisked are not going to be big fans of it. So anytime you hear somebody, well, if you ain't doing nothing wrong, just let them search you. Yeah, because they know it's not going to happen to them. As I often bring up on the show, everything we do in this country is on a time schedule. You go to work in the morning, you have to be there by a certain time. You catch a bus to work, you have to be at the stop for a certain time. You go on vacation, you got to be at your flight or your bus ride or your cruise. You got to be there by a certain time. Do we take any consideration at all causing people harm by stopping? If you get stopped and frisked, certainly if you're in a vehicle, that stop could be 30 to 45 minutes long. They got to run your ID and background check on you. They're going through your pockets, maybe going through the seats of your car, the trunk and all. If you're late for work, do they make you whole if your boss writes you up or you get docked 20 minutes, 30 minutes pay? Do the cops, do we care about them people? No, we care about bringing down crime. The people that are being victimized by it, we don't give a damn about them. I would also submit to you this. You know, at the end of the day, a lot of police officers don't tolerate people talking shit, people getting angry, or any of that. And of course, if you're randomly stopping people that are doing nothing wrong, you're going to have a lot of people getting angry and voicing their opinion about that. You know what that's going to lead to? People getting arrested that never would have gotten arrested. I don't care if it's just spending a quick hour in jail or spending a weekend in jail. A lot of folks, you can be certain, when they were stopping and frisking people, that ends up with a lot of misdemeanor arrests of people that would never have happened. This dude is mad at you going through his pockets, or you're calling this guy, come over here so I can search you, and he took off running, but now you're chasing him, and now he's getting charged with a crime. People are getting charged with shit that they normally would never have been charged with. All of that happens. So when we factor in what's bringing down crime, nobody's taking a tally on all of that. It ain't bringing down crime, it just changed who the criminals are. Now the criminals are the people with the badge. And you're not, because you're not taking a tally of that, it looks like crime is coming down. Every individual you stop without any cause, which is what the Fourth Amendment protects you against, random searches and seizures, or unwarranted rather. The Fourth Amendment protects you against unwarranted searches and seizures, which means they don't have a warrant or any cause to search or seize anything from you. Everybody you randomly stop, you're violating their Fourth Amendment rights. So every time a cop does that, it is a constitutional crime. But you're not taking tally on that. You're only taking tallies on the crimes committed by the citizens. You're ignoring the ones that are being committed by the cops. So I'm not a fan of it. And by the way, if there is any effort at all to improve the relationship between the police and minority communities, this would take it back several decades. You ever heard of the phrase, we're not going back? Well, this is doing that. This would ruin the relationship between people of color or any community where people are being stopped at random. And I submit to you that if you put a bunch of black officers in rural Alabama and they were randomly stopping and frisking people, let's say a town got a huge issue with opioids or methamphetamines. There's a lot of small towns in rural America that have problems like that. Imagine flooding that town with African-American cops, Hispanic cops, and they randomly stopping those white folks in that town. That's how the African Americans and people of color feel when it's happening in reverse. We just don't give a damn about how they feel, but that's how they feel as well. Looking in the comments, it didn't work. Look at the actual data on it. Even cops said it was a waste of resources, saying Barbara. I don't believe it worked at all either. I think they just simply focused on one or two particular metrics and ignored everybody else. So if you don't give a damn about collateral damage, I submit to you this. That would be like the war that's going on in the Middle East with Israel right now. Well, if you don't care about the collateral damage, you're doing a really good job against Hezbollah, or you're doing a really good job against Hamas, because you're not taking a tally on all of the babies and folks that are dying. You're only focused on the people that you out to get. Well, hell, it's a very successful war. That's what the issue is, with my opinion, with stopping frisk. Anyhow, folks, as Fancy pointed out in the comments rightfully, a lot of the numbers are skewed on the program today because of what I think she is correct in saying. People are focusing on the hurricane in Florida, and I absolutely want to do that as well. So I'm going to terminate the live for now. As always, follow the program on TikTok, subscribe on YouTube. and you'll catch me tomorrow. See you later. Same on YouTube. Thank you folks for tuning in, but I do want to find out what's going on in Florida. Catch you later.